everyone. So get started here. This is a brief overview of what we're going to cover this evening. Our attendance did fall below our projections. We had anticipated 1,120 paid attendees, and we're down at 996. Yokohama was 1,350, so I don't think it was unreasonable, too unreasonable to expect that we were going to get at least 1,100 for this particular meeting, so that's disappointing. Mike. Okay. You didn't miss anything. It's all right there. We had 238 registered remote participants. There's a lot more than that who are participating remotely but have not registered. Interesting, we have lots of universities that are online distributions across the different regions, for example, North America, Europe. Registration revenues, like I said, is down. It's down about 100K, and I don't see that going up for the remainder of this particular meeting. And sponsorship revenues are down over 60K. There is a Thursday Tech Talk. Andrew Malice is going to speak tomorrow, and seating is limited. Food is limited. Yes, there's some free food. So you'll want to get there early. Did that change? Okay. Also want to thank our hosts and co-hosts, Huawei. Thank you all very much for all the work you put in and the contribution you've made to us. Kissa and CN Nick, co-hosts, thank you. Google, the welcome reception, thank you. And the hackathon, we have Huawei as the sponsor for this, the hackathon for the entire year. Barry Lieber co-chaired that, and with Charles Eckel, who is with Cisco and also used part of their infrastructure. Bits and bytes. In addition to the folks that you see on the screen here that are going to participate, we will have 4 teams from the hackathon participating. We had over 115 folks at the hackathon, so they're going to provide demos of the work that they had done. We had lots of sponsors at this meeting. Thank you, Nokia, OSI. You've seen the Korean Tourism Organization booth out there. Please stop by, and they have lots of materials for you to take a look at. And we had lots of other help. Getting connectivity wasn't particularly easy this time around. We usually get our connectivity contributed. This time we spent about $60,000 for our connectivity. And but that was only happened as a result of the work of NTT and ISOC Korea chapter, and we thank them a lot. And it wasn't easy getting letters of invitation arranged in this particular environment. But through the work of the Korean IETF Forum and OSHA, we managed to get it done. I want to thank DY Kim in particular for his efforts making that happen. Every Saturday we have a code sprint, and here are the folks who participated in that this particular week. And if you're interested in developing tools that are used by the community, we'd welcome your participation in that. And we have a fabulous NOC team, the volunteers, the Verilyn, and the MediaEcho folks, and we want to thank them for their help. And I think, is this yours?
Yep, that's me. But maybe we can actually
back up.
Maybe we can actually all thank all those people that Ray just ran through. So it's a really interesting thing about how this is set up, at least for people of my stature. The comfort screen is not, in fact, very comforting because it's exactly where I can't see it. Here we go. So I wanted to say a few things about committee appointments. In Berlin, we had put out a call for people to volunteer for the various committees of the IAOC. And so we have, we would like to thank very much everybody who submitted their name and offered to volunteer for one of our committees. And these are the people who have, in fact, been appointed. And now I'm going to have to do that horribly embarrassing thing because I can't see the comfort screen. I actually have to wear the damn middle-aged glasses. Sorry. Yeah, so thanks very much to Michael Richardson, Avridoria, Yang Huaru, Lars Eggert, and Joel Halpern. Some legal matters. We've been referring to this obliquely for the last few IETF meetings. Now we don't have to be so oblique. The case has been, there's been a case, it has been dismissed with prejudice, which means that at least in theory, it won't come back. And you can read all about it on our webpage. So Ray alluded to some of the status of this meeting, and I wanted to take just a few moments to take a step back and look at where we are at financially, where we know we're at in terms of 2016, i.e. year to date, and also how we see things shaping up for the rest of the year. So with the information that Ray presented, well, I guess he didn't go into the year-to-date stuff. In terms of how the finances have worked out for our first two meetings of the year, we are currently actually running over our budget for the contribution from ISOC, which is to say, in normal budget parlance, we are in the whole $169,000. Sol is bringing a few more challenges insofar as Ray did mention, the sponsorship, there's a shortfall in the sponsorship, and we did actually have to pay for the circuit costs. And with lower attendance, we have lower revenue from meeting attendees, which is all fairly obvious if you stop and think about it. So overall, we're looking at essentially $369,000 over budget for this year. So is that the end of the world? No, because thankfully we have the Internet Society that backs us up, and so we are not in sort of the normal expected financial situation for being $369,000 over budget for the year. So we should all add to that a big thank you to ISOC for that. I should also take the step back and point out that we knew that 2016 was going to be a year of adventure at some level, because we were going to Latin America for the first time. And we've already discussed what a successful meeting that was in terms of broadening our horizons and engaging more people in the work of the IETF. So I don't want to lose sight of those factors, even as we have to recognize that, you know, if we take on adventures, we do actually have to look at how we're doing financially. So with that, I thought I would take the opportunity to say just a word or two about looking at 2017. So in adopting the budget for 2017, there's some modifications to the sponsorship program, which is implemented by the Internet Society. The overall target is $2 million. What's new in 2017 is that we've adjusted the offerings in the sponsorship program to align with the requests of people who have been interested in being sponsors, but maybe not finding the benefits that would line up right with their interests. And there's more program info that's actually published on the website. I put the URL here because I thought maybe this should stop being our best kept secret. And in fact, I'd like to be a little bit more explicit in terms of a snapshot of what we're looking for to make the IETF go in 2017. And I appreciate that a lot of this is sort of like la, 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 somebody else's problem, la, la, la. And maybe you're not the person in your company who's the right person to be thinking about doing sponsorship for the IETF, but maybe you know the right person who is. So maybe you could have a look at the page. You can see that some of the available sponsors offerings are not huge in terms of budget impact. It's a really big lift to host a meeting, but we have a lot of other available options for sponsoring the IETF. So if you do know the right person in your company to think about this, please point them at the material, and the relevant person to get in touch with is Howie Baggett at the Internet Society. And yes, standing up over there, he's ready and willing to take your credit cards. So thank you very much for thinking about that. And I'm happy to say that this slide, which is, was updated only a few hours ago, is actually out of date. Not all of these opportunities are still available. So meet up with Howie as fast as you can, because we're going to have a word in a moment or two about some updates to this. Thank you.
Separate slide. Maybe we should merge them sometime. Separate anyways. Good. And maybe now to one of the presentations that usually the most challenging one to make interesting. Let's see how well I'm doing today. So this is the IETF Trust Report. And I would say actually going along with the IETF Trust Report, normally actually there's not much work at the IETF Trust. However, the last 3 months were quite, I would say, outstandingly busy, considering that we had the honor to implement the IANA transition agreements. And actually, I mean, when I say honor, I really mean it that way. I think it was a very good step, and it was worth the time and effort we spent on that. So everybody here for helping us do that. The IETF, following that, the IETF has executed on the last day of September successfully the following agreements with ICANN. The ICANN IANA IPR assignment to the trust. So we took these IPRs into the trust, the community agreements between the trust and the operational communities, and the 3 license agreements from the trust to ICANN for sub-licensing to PTI. So yeah. However, after these agreements, we of course still now have to execute on these. But my current impression is that this is much less work than the stuff before. So we have received the documentation, and we are submitting stuff. We are sorting out the things with the registrar. So all these are quite straightforward operational issues that we can address and solve. In addition to that, as a second component for the trust is that we also have to look at the trust finances. As a quick reminder, as you might know, like since 2016, we are actually reporting the IETF trust finances separately from the IAOC. And one good thing is we have received approval as a 501c3 charity in the US in September. And we have opened a bank account. Yay! So we can take money. Here is a quick overview about our statement, our financial statement. As you can see, this is actually really small money. In the past, it has been small money, and in the future, we also hope it will not be too much. However, this year, because we had this great fun with the IANA transition, we had much more legal expenses for the review and negotiation, as you can imagine. September actuals, year-to-date actuals, and budget actuals. But actually, I think the next slide is a little bit more clear, because on the very right column, you can see the variance. So we had a planned budget of about 69,000. And this is actually also what we plan for the future years in a more stable look going forward. However, this year, as you can see, we had a deviation of about 35,000, which is mostly due to additional filing and legal fees. We consider that a one-time expense. Equally, as IETF trustees, we have, of course, to consider we may not know everything that's coming our way with the IANA IPR. So we will have to think about things that might come up when it happens next year. We don't know that yet. Good. With that, thank you very much. Questions for later at the open mic. Thank you.